This is Zodiac, aka Zodi, aka Zodiac the Mystic, and you're here with Drinking at Moe's.
Drinking at Moe's, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also me. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinking at Moe's, where we don't quit. Drinking at Moe's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, no, it's a scream.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinking Mo's be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're finishing filling out your order, use the code Drinking at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking go. All right, everybody. Welcome, Drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, because YouTube's algorithm is continuing to be a pain in the ass. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it's storming outside. But you know what? We're inside. We don't got to worry about that shit. But you know, we're also on the audio platforms too, most major ones, anyways. Today, I'm excited to finally have with me Zodiak. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Was running around doing the scrambles and stuff and that with work and kids going back to school and everything else. I was like, wait, what time is it?
Oh, oh God, I get that all the time, especially when I'm, coming home from work. I got to drive about an hour to work, and then by the time I get home, I'm like, wait, what time is it? How much time do I got? Yeah,
I'm lucky because
normally.
I'm lucky because I work from home, like with the gear and
Oh,
everything else. But at the same time, it's a blessing and a curse because then it's like, oh, you work from home, you can do this, you can stop and do that, you can,
yeah,
really, like here's my hours, I'm working, leave me alone. But it never works out that way.
yeah. No, I can imagine. I try as much as possible not to bother my wife whenever she has a couple days a week where she works from home. I
Mm-hmm.
try to not bother her too much. I might literally at the most try to be like, I'll call when I'm on my way home just to see how everything's going, because I mean, especially now with, we're expecting, I'm like just trying to make sure everything is okay.
Right.
So, so first thing I like to talk about everybody with, especially, I mean, first timers, anyways. What got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make that leap into the business?
As a fan, I grew up watching wrestling with my mom, actually.
Ah,
Yeah, it was something we would do, back when they had like Saturday Night Wrestling, and then
mm,
eventually let it roll. She was a big Hulk Hogan fan, so like we would sit and watch it. I liked the bad guys. I mean, I liked Hogan and stuff. I was a kid, but I mean, I liked like Jake Roberts and Ted
mm,
DiBiase, the Four Horsemen and all them guys. I liked the bad guys, the Repo Man, the characters and stuff like
yeah.
that. You know,
Oh yeah.
so we would always sit back and forth. She'd be cheering Hogan on, and I'm sitting there like, "Yeah, DDT him again, Jake." Whatever. So it was just something fun we did, and then I got hooked on it with the characters, and then games, and like I had all kinds of wrestling figures because that was the
Mm,
Christmas stuff. And I was like, "What do you want?" And like, "Oh, let me just give me some wrestlers and stuff." Okay, and then we were big Goodwill shoppers, you know.
mm,
So we would find all the thrift store finds, little old
mm.
the big rubber figures. I wish I
Oh
could
yeah,
get all that stuff now because
the
like
big
I
LJNs
had the
and
big
stuff.
LJNs and the ones they came out with where you push the bottom of them down, the back of them they would fly up, and
Oh yeah.
the Hasbro ones. So
Oh yeah.
we got into doing that and everything. So and then just progression over time. as far as getting into it. Me and a lot of the friends from school were into it. We would watch. Um, and we talked about, oh, we get out of high school, we got to check this out and see about getting into it. I was the
Yeah.
only one that did. I was the least athletic one out of all of us. Didn't play sports, and I was the only one that got into it and stuck with it. But it was funny because I remember when ECW came out.
Oh yeah.
It was on like channel 25 here at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So my buddy comes to school one day and he's like, "You've got to look this wrestling up." I'm like, "Well, what are you talking? What is it?" He goes, "It's ECW wrestling." I was like, "What was like Eastern Championship Wrestling?" He goes, "No, no, no, no. It's something totally different." I'm like, okay. And he was telling me all this crazy stuff they did. He's like, "This guy took a cheese grater and hit this guy with it, and they got this guy called the Sandman that comes out drinking beer and hitting people with a cane and Taz and all." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "It's on 25. You've got to like fine tune it in." So I'm fine tuning this in when I'm not supposed to even be up, looking this up and get it finally in to watch. And that was another thing that just captivated me because that's what introduced me to like Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio and Psychosis and Dean Malenko and all these guys. I was like, holy crap. It was just something totally different. And that was a segue actually into becoming a fan of Japanese wrestling because then I got looking into that and started tape trading and everything. So it went from, oh, I want to be a big WWF guy, like, oh, that's the goal right there, to I want to do what they're doing. Like, this is wild. I want to check this out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I remember. Oh God, I'm small town Nebraska. I didn't really get the opportunity to get too much into the tape trading, but I do remember my first introduction to ECW was actually that one Invasion of Monday Night Raw that they did, where they had, things. The Dudley Boys had a match and Taz had a match in there, and kind of similar to what they're doing with NXT and TNA now.
Yeah.
That was my first introduction there, and then I started going, the grocery stores and stuff where they'd have the wrestling magazines, and I'd go and I'd look up because I remember ECW, so I had to go and like, oh, what are they doing right now? And then that style and the Japanese. Oh God, I still vaguely remember some of my first shows of theirs that I ever watched was, well, one guy that's still one of my absolute favorites, but regardless, Japanese, American, whatever, Tomohiro Ishii. One of the first matches of his I saw, like he threw a headbutt and you could literally hear the bone on bone smack, and I'm like, ow.
I call him the Stone Pitbull.
No, it's like there's a reason they call him that.
Evidently, like he's over with the guys in AEW right now because I seen the thing just scrolling through the sheets and stuff and that. And he's an old guy now, but evidently a lot of the guys in AEW want to work with him. They just like his style and the way he works. And even for his age, he still gets out there and gets at it. But he's always had that boxy kind of, Scott Norton-esque style and build. He's not pretty and clean. He's rough and gruff.
And that's what I love about him.
Yeah, he's just a brute. And even at his age, he's still doing like some good high spots. He's still moving good.
Oh, yeah. Like, I just love the fact, like, especially when he has a title belt on him, that, like, he already has that look on his face, regardless that, like, to defeat him, you're going to have to damn near kill him. But, like, when he has a title belt on him, he's like, to get that away from him, you're going to have to, like, kill him and take it away from his cold, dead hands.
Right.
He's not going to make it easy on you. And then, oh God, recently with AEW, I literally saw it was a promo with Willow Nightingale, and they had, Tomohiro Ishii walked in, and then she's like, "Hey, you got plans for this?" And then I'm like, I don't know what it is, but the thought of Willow Nightingale teaming up with Tomohiro Ishii I'm excited.
That could be interesting.
Oh yeah. But another thing I like to talk with everybody with is, in-ring personas and how you came up with yours, because, I've interviewed people, young in the business, Hall of Famers, seasoned veterans, and it all seems to come about to, that first little bit seems to be a bit of a feeling out process, what's going to stick. But then once you find that thing that it just resonates with you, where it's like you turned up a notch, then it's just like the fans seem to catch on to the authenticity of it, where
Right.
that's like you're not just playing a character, that like there's that part of you in it, and then they just latch on.
I think that authenticity is important because people, especially nowadays with media, they can see right through you if you're BSing.
Oh yeah.
The whole Zodiac thing, like it's gone through a bunch of different evolutions and transitions over time. But it started my trainer. I trained with Roger Ruffin and Chris Hayes and all them, Chris Parks, Abyss, and then he was one of the head trainers up at NWF. And my first gimmick was actually like a lumberjack type gimmick. Mind you, I
Mm.
was like 19, 20 years old, barely grow facial hair. I'm like, why am I doing this? So I just ran with it and made the best of it. I made it kind of like a comedy type gimmick, almost like Regal's manly man type deal.
Oh yeah.
And just had fun with it, but they were like, it was a temporary thing. And so Roger, he tells me one day we're getting ready to do this show, and it was at the Cincinnati Gardens, which was really cool before they had shut down. It was in collaboration with like a Ducks game or something, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really neat. And it was like he said, bring your red and black gear that you have. I had just these red tights and a black singlet. He said, bring that and a mask. If you can't find one, I'll have one for you. I'm like, okay, so what are we doing? So I had that, and it was just a plain black assassin style mask almost. And he's like, "You're going to be the Zodiac." I'm like, "What the hell's a Zodiac?" I'm like astrologically, like Zodiac. He's like, "Yeah." He's like Zodiac. So I got looking it up a little bit more after a while, and looking at who had done the gimmick and this and that and everything else. And I was like, "Well, nobody's really ran with it. Ran with it." It's always been kind of a side gimmick or a
Yeah.
comedic thing, like when Brutus did it with the Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah.
Bob Armstrong, I think, did a version of it. And then there was another guy that did a version with Jason the Terrible, and they did that for maybe a year or so down in Florida, and he eventually came out of the mask and all that. So I was like, well, it's kind of like an '80s style spoiler gimmick, you know, which I was a big fan of the spoiler. I was like, well, let me just run with that. So that's what I did with it for a while. And I'm just trying to get acclimated, figure out what I'm doing with this. And I'm still greener than hell anyway, so I don't know what I'm doing. And then they put me with another guy who was a referee, but he was also wrestling. So he was about 100 pounds lighter than me. But the idea that we had with it was, let's do old conquistador style, where it's obvious we're not the same guy, but we would do these switches in and out behind the referee's back and different stuff like that, where it's like,
Yeah.
I know you're not the same guy. We have matching gear. Our gear looks exactly the same, but huge difference in size and wrestling style.
Yeah.
And we did that for like 4 or 5 years for Roger and him, and it was a blast. It was just the '80s Memphis, assassins, conquistador style tag. Great.
Yeah.
And eventually he stopped wrestling, started doing some other stuff. I segued away from NWF a bit just to go out and travel more. And I was always a big horror movie buff. The Omen, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all that stuff. So I was like, well, I want to put these elements into it, make it a little bit darker, a little bit more serious, a little bit more nasty, because nobody was doing that really at the time.
Yeah.
Now everybody's doing it. But it kind of turned into that, switched up the music, switched up the ambiance, and that took off really well. I had a buddy of mine who ran a magic shop, Artie Kidwell. He ran a magic shop in Covington, and he was an announcer for like ICW and a bunch of places down around here. Professional magician, great guy. He said, I got an idea for you. I would go in there and buy flash paper. And he showed me how to do the flaming palms that I carry out. So I keep doing that as a tribute to him. So they just kept adding different things. I liked magic. I liked nerdy stuff, horror movies, comic books, Avengers, all the bad guys from that. I'm like, well, how can I take this? Because I was always a heel, I was always a bad guy for the most part. I'm like, how can I take this and take all these little things and wrap them into a package and be like, here we go. And just over time, I just kept adding to it, changing it. Eventually, the gimmick got over, and like I'm a baby face. I'm a good guy most places now, just because it's a cool character, and I call it the Steve Austin effect. You know, it's like, oh, you're that cool gimmick. So it's like it's hard to do. You know,
that sort of anti-hero sort of thing.
Yeah, which I always sympathize with anyway, like Magneto, Apocalypse. You know, even Thanos, all the bad guys. It's like, yeah, they're a bad guy, but I see why. You know. Like I understand. So that sympathetic bad guy that like he does bad stuff, but he does it for a reason. Eventually that just became like, oh, that's just who Zodi is. He throws fire at guys, he beats people up, he's aggressive, he's rough. You know, yeah, he loves to have fun. He's a big taco loving monster, but he's gonna beat the dog piss out of you probably too.
Oh god, now you're making me hungry. But anyways, I was thinking because I know when I first saw your page and first saw pictures of you with the mask and everything and the name, it got me thinking, mixing, the horror aspects, but then also I had in my head like the Zodiac killer, that serial killer guy from wherever the hell he was. And then that just stuck with me for some reason.
Yeah, I done quite a bit of that with it too. I didn't want it to be too cliche, so I was like, I don't want to play off on that too much. But like when I do some of the fonts and stuff or things, I'll use the cipher for his stuff. The symbol I use is actually his crosshairs turned sideways into an X now. Just different stuff like that and play up with it. And some people like the serial killer aspect because I have that version too with like the bag and everything. Because I got multiple versions of the gimmick. That's kind of been the whole thing. Like I have like my whole little multiverse. There's the whole when we did the bomb shelter stuff. There was the galactic bounty hunter, which is kind of what I was for that. The serial killer type stuff. There's like Lucha Zodi, Zen Zodi, and they're all their own individual entity, which is kind of wild. Almost compared to like Doctor Strange.
No, I can get it. Yeah,
and
just
that was one.
I was just going to say it got me thinking of talking with people and it being like you get that little bit of a little bit more of the longevity when you're able to change stuff up like that.
Yeah. Keeps it interesting. And then here lately, the last couple of years, I've been doing stuff that's even more out of character. That's more like just me. Like at Wrestle Arts, I'm doing the whole, which I haven't gotten to go there in the last couple shows just because of other obligations. But we're doing this whole kind of cultish type deal where I'm talking a lot more and speaking. It's almost like Jake Roberts-esque with the whole trust me thing, dress nicer and everything else. And people's like, this is different. Like we've never seen this from you, and they liked it. So which that's segueing into some other stuff because I'm doing movies and that here and there now, and I've got the gear business. I'm trying to get sponsors for that. So it's like when you get a hold of a sponsor, they're like, "Oh, I like everything you're doing here, but like we can't really do much with this. Like we need you." I'm like, okay. Same with the movies. It's like, some of the characters I play are horror characters, which they have their face covered, but other ones I don't. It's like, well, we need you. So now we're going through this whole transitional phase of not just a wrestler, but like an entertainer and everything. So that's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because you brought up the words are hard. The gear making stuff, and it's like that kind of wow, words are really hard. I haven't even been drinking that much. Anyways, but brings up a conversation that had come up before about having a bit of a diversity of things that you can do in the business. Like some people, not only in the ring, but they can help out, do certain stuff with sound or other production things, or helping with making ring gear. I've lost count of how many times I've heard about somebody saying, "Oh, I need ring gear made for blah blah blah," and like, the place that they were going is being a pain in the ass. So then, hell, if people that know you are able to, oh, well, I already got somebody that can help me out here. Then
right.
boom, you just got that much more opportunities.
Well, and like promotions, like the bigger promotions now, especially are like are they TNA now? Yeah, TNA, NWA, AEW. They have like gear guys in house on payroll, so it's like that's a job you can get now. A buddy of mine
Yeah.
just got a spot with AEW. Well, two of my buddies have a spot now with AEW, and I remember when they started making gear. And so now they travel with them. The travel schedule for something like that's a little iffy for me because I got like kids at home and stuff. So I don't want to be
Yeah.
gone for a week or so at a time. But like NWA might not be a bad one for that. And I
But
make a lot of their guys' gear anyway.
yeah, hell,
I,
even TNA, because they have their different, sort of taping schedules. It's like they'll tape like 4 or 5 episodes in a row after every pay-per-view. That it's like, boom, you might be there for a couple days, but then boom, you're back home, and
yeah,
not gone nearly as much.
when Larry D was working for them, that was kind of a thing. He said they would do tapings and you'd be there for a day or two. They would do tapings and I make his gear. So like I would make him a couple things and he would take it with him. And then from that, usually a couple other guys would message me. And then here recently, because he's just now getting back into wrestling. The Hex, the girls that do the Hex,
Yeah.
Allison Kay and Marty Bell, I've been making their stuff. I made their last 2 outfits or so, which is a
Okay.
kind of new because I haven't done much like female gear, but Allison's and her and Marty's both came out really nice. Some tweaks aside, it's a cool learning process. But same thing. He's like, yeah, we'll go and we'll record. We'll be there for 2 days or whatever for the weekend, and they'll record 3 or 4 episodes. You know, so they might need a couple outfits.
Yeah.
Works out pretty good. And Trey Miguel and then when I talked to them, I don't talk to him as much, but I'd seen him up in Toledo and all that. And he said the same thing. He's like, it's great because they'll record, so you don't have to be there all the time traveling everywhere. So I think that's kind of cool. Something like that might not be bad. Tyler Thorne was making a bunch of their gear, and he's got some other obligations now, so he's kind of sending some guys my way.
Yeah. Yeah. I've ran into uh, Trey Miguel and the Rascals guys a couple of times at Sammy Callahan's promotion, Revolver.
Revolver,
That,
yeah.
yeah, they do. They for the most part flip flop between Des Moines and Ohio for shows. They've been sprinkling out, but for the most part, Des Moines and Ohio. And I'll try to get into the Des Moines stops as much as possible because that's literally maybe 2.5 hours from me.
That's
So
not
it's
bad.
like it's doable. Ohio might take a little more planning,
Right.
but
The last time I was in Des Moines, I worked for Mid Death for Carver and them. That was a
oh
few
yeah,
couple years ago, maybe, because they ran a show up in Des Moines at one of the bars.
yeah,
It was a last minute thing. I was doing some other work up there, and I think it was like me, Schwartz, and Randy West went up there.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I actually ended up wrestling Schwartz. It's on the show on the thing. Schwartz. It was me and him in a match, so that was fun. And it was just one of those like no ring bar fight shows.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, it
I,
was a
I
good
know what you're talking about. Yeah, because I've actually had Schwartzy on twice, and I've talked about some of my hobbies. I got some of it behind me. I actually one time Mid Death came to Omaha and had a show, and my ticket ended up being entering into a raffle for an event used item signed by everybody. I didn't know I was the winner until Carver comes up to me at the end of the show and hands me half a door with a big ass crack in it with blood stains and signed by everybody.
That's awesome.
I literally got it behind the camera here.
That's great.
Oh man, when the first time my wife saw that, she's like, "Is that blood on there?" And I just laughed. I'm like, "Yeah." God, that was wild. But yeah, when you brought up mid-def. I'm like, oh yeah. And hell, that I know I sponsored one of my friends that did a handful of shows there. Like they were making a comeback, but now I don't know anymore. But it's nothing against, Carver. I know he had some stuff going on, but hell, he's making one hell of a comeback now too. And
Yeah, he had some health issues and stuff. He still
I
does
was
have.
gonna say, I thought it was health
Yeah,
issues.
he's got some health stuff going on. I talk to him weekly. 'Cause I make a lot of his stuff too. And like we were tagging for a bit, but just worry. He's in Iowa and then I'm in
Yeah,
Kentucky. So it makes it difficult. And then the places we were tagging were up this way. So it's hard for him to get out here. He's doing some shows in Texas and then he's doing New South and Alabama. So he's like, I want to try and get us both booked there and do some stuff. I was like, okay, that'd
that
be
would be nice.
yeah. And then I'm doing my stuff up here. We just started doing a thing with the Void, which is like it's me, David Barnabas Spector, Eric Fallon, and Evil Nate Hewitt. Um, and that was the gimmick we did down at the Rock and Roll Invitational tournament for the
Hmm.
NWA down there for Ricky's school and all that. That was really cool. And it got over well. We did like 4 matches. We did Freebirds rules, went to the finals, worked with the Kazanas. And I think we're going to go down to Joe Kazana Promotions down there
Hmm.
and do something with them. So we're trying to segue our way into the NWA. That's more the direction I'm going with stuff right now. That's why
Yeah,
I haven't done a lot with like Schwartz and all them because they're doing more deathmatch stuff up there in Michigan and the bar scene,
yeah.
and just like with the kids and all. Like my focus right now is just down here trying to do the NWA stuff
Yeah.
and everything else. So we're doing 2 different things, both doing good business, so which is great.
Oh yeah. And
Uh,
hell, they're doing, they had a little bit of controversy there, but they're bouncing back from it. They got the whole thing with the CW app launched, and I'm hearing good things about the program there.
oh yeah,
And I've I've had a few people from there on. Kazana. I actually, when he was still holding one of the U.S. tag titles, I had him on, and it's nice. And I hear a lot about them starting to kind of go back to how the NWA was like back in the day, where it was like a bunch of regional places,
yeah.
but you have your big central show wherever it might end up being. And I'm like, you know what, that is kind of nice, because then some of these places that might not necessarily get some of these big names that come through the NWA, if they're associated with them, then all of a sudden, eventually, you get some of them filtering through there, and some people getting to see some stuff that they wouldn't get to see all the time because they're maybe a little bit further out there, and traveling to a WWE show might be an every other year thing.
Yeah, because it's expensive.
Oh God, yeah. I've looked sometimes, and yeah, I'd be like, if I ever tried to buy ringside to a WWE show by myself,
Yeah, it's expensive.
my wife would kill me.
So what I used to do when they were in town here, I've got a friend of mine, and he books like the seat fillers, what they call them,
Mm.
for spots. Like if they're a little low in an area, they'll have a
Oh
group
yeah,
of like 20, 30 people and be like, hey, we want you to go fill seats over here and sit here. We want you to make sure this area looks full. And sometimes they need them, sometimes they don't. But they usually have at least 20 or so of them on hand. And he would mess with me like, hey, you want to be a seat filler and come out? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I'd get in for free, but they would have to move you every now and then. But nine
yeah,
times out of 10, you stayed in the same spot. So it wasn't that big of a deal. Um, so that was always fun and a good time. And then I know some of the staff, so they would see me there and I'd be like, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just doing a seat filler, hanging out, blah blah. Oh, you want something? Yeah, whatever, blah blah." So that was always kind of cool. So if you can ever
yeah.
find somebody that does seat filling spots, easy free ticket.
So hey, I might have to look into that, because I mean, I know, I've had some people on that, I mean, they weren't in AEW at the time, but they are now. Like, I've had on Billy Starks, I've had on former Ring of Honor man tag champ Dutch. I've had him on. Man, that right there, that episode actually gave me one of my crazier moments. Not necessarily in the show, but it was like a post for it on Twitter. And then all of a sudden I get this Twitter alert and I didn't recognize, the little picture, the profile picture that'll pop up. So I'm like, okay, when I get to a freaking stoplight, I'll look. And lo and behold, it was Bray Wyatt.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, oh, I about dropped my phone. And I'm like, I immediately, as soon as I got into my driveway, I messaged Dutch again. I'm like, are you friends with Bray Wyatt? And he's like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that explains it. But I was like, holy shit, somebody of that caliber acknowledging my little show. I'm like,
Right.
holy crap.
Hey, sometimes too, it's all it takes is somebody like that be like, hey, go check this show out, and then boom, it takes off. So
Oh yeah. Hell, I'm already, more further along than I ever thought I'd be. So
right. Oh, that's why I was hyped when you messaged me. It was like, hey, we want to have you on the show? Come hang out. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. Because I've been trying to do more of the more like podcasts and interviews and just sit down sessions anyway. Um, Body can't handle so much wrestling anymore, so I'm trying to limit that in ring and do more like social stuff, and that is fun. I enjoy it. Going back to the NWA thing before this
oh yeah.
flies out of my brain. It seems like they're trying to go back to kind of a territory style system.
Yeah.
Which I think is neat because you have like Joe Kazana Productions, Kenzie Page with like their promotion down there and her dad's deal. They're an NWA branch. They're doing some like exclusive deal signing guys, and like I've seen some of the contracts they're doing. They're not bad at all, really. So they're getting guys exclusively for NWA, which you can go do other bookings, but if they have something, you have to be there.
Yeah.
Exodus up here in Cleveland, they're a nice NWA affiliate. I'm going to go up there the 23rd, actually, I think, and do Preface, which is like a seminar deal, which you got to pay for that, but it's like $50. I was like, they're $50. I'll go up and do a seminar and hang out. And
yeah,
the last one I did. And then
I was going to say, I thought I saw that. I saw that posted.
Yeah, I've been sharing their stuff. And then I'm trying to make an impression, which they know my work. It's just you got to fight to get on these shows. Like there's people that want these, and there's guys a lot younger than me. Some guys that have been more traveled than me. But the one good feedback I got from the last one I did was like, "You're really diverse." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You can do damn near anything." And I was asking EC3 about that, and he says that he goes, what you can do like indie level stuff, I guess indie level, he's like, you're kind of maxed out aside from working on your body or whatnot. He goes, coming to stuff like this and getting more ready for TV, which you've done before. He was like, you just need to be around the right stuff. He's like, because I shot promos for him and I did a couple different like characters in that too, because I do all kinds of stuff. And he's like, that's night and day. Not a lot of people can do that. He goes, plus you make gear, you do massage work, you can do TV, you can do commentary and all that. It's like, you're real diverse. He was like, so you could be an asset to somewhere. You just have to make it like show face. And which has always been one of my problems is like not showing face enough and follow up. I'm more like helping this guy, helping that guy. And it can cost you in some aspects.
Oh yeah. I can imagine because hell, I know with one time I met EC3 and I told him about the show. Yeah, he was going to be a little outside my price range, but he was like, he was like, just be consistent. And I'm like, that's why I was already kind of switching to where like, an interview episode Wednesday and Friday, and then like a My Two Cents thing every Thursday. Like I schedule it out to where like I'll do like a handful of recordings like throughout a couple weeks, and then like I'll schedule them out, and so that way in case something personal like what we've talked about off camera comes up, it's like I don't got to worry about, okay, if I do decide to not, like I postpone whatever recordings for a week, I don't have to worry about, oh, how the hell am I going to make up for that?
Right. You've got stuff
I,
in the buffer like ready to go.
yeah. But then it's also, some of those things, it's always nice to, have something to, take your mind off of it for a little bit, which is another thing I do enjoy about watching wrestling, because it's like you could be having just an absolute shit day, but oh, wrestling's on. That's always something that I've enjoyed. So you go and watch that, and like getting lost in the different storylines and stuff just takes your mind off of it for a little bit.
And that's what I try to do. Like when I know it's hard for some people to do, but when I actually sit down and watch wrestling, and I had to kind of break myself of some bad habits. It's because when you get training, you look at it more from a wrestler's perspective.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, that was off. Oh man, that this that. So I switched mine. I was like, I'm gonna watch wrestling as a fan. So when I watch a pay per view or Raw, Smack, whatever it is, I don't watch it from like a wrestler's perspective. I turn
Yeah.
all that off and I just watch it as a fan.
Yeah.
Even if I do reviews on the thing, like I review it more as a fan.
Yeah.
I like this for this reason. This story pulled me. Like I love all the stuff with the Wyatt Six, and I like.
I love that stuff.
I like the characters, because that's what pulled me in. So even if I post something, I post it more from a fan's perspective. Like, oh, I loved the way they did this and this and this.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I won't do is I won't shit on a product because I may work for them people one day. If I have a super negative view on something, I usually just keep it to myself. Unless it's something simple or critical, like, oh yeah, I didn't care for this, because that's just an opinion type thing.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of guys, they'll get on and they'll just drag something. I'm like, okay, you clearly never want a job because they do that stuff. But
no, my whole thing there is, I don't want to just completely shit on something. So like if on the my 2 cents stuff, if we are like, reactions to a show, it's like we'll always say that it's my 2 cents, it's our opinions, we're not affiliated with anybody,
right.
But we always say, well, there's a couple things. One, we're going to give the good, the bad, the ugly. We're not going to just whitewash something and like, oh, it's all rosy, but we're not just going to completely shit on something.
Right.
But then, oh God, I lost my train of thought. We'll move on. But yeah, no, we're just not completely shitting on something because, we've ran into that where some people didn't take too kindly to it. It's like,
well,
it's not like we didn't warn you that it's like hell. One of my favorite podcasts that I listen to is the NXT review on Fightful or Sour Graps, where like they'll do a lot of like, oh, this just was irritating watching her. That, but then they'll acknowledge the good stuff too, and that's why anything that I'll do, like if I say a negative review on something, I'll always say, yeah, one, this is also what was good here. And I'll always tell people, I'm not going to tell anybody, oh, don't go to this show or don't try to work here. Right. It's like, if you want to go and watch a show, go.
Right.
Enjoy yourself. Find what you like. If it's something that I like, hey, cool, we can talk about it. If you hate something that I like, hey, let's talk about it.
Right. Talk about why, make it an interesting conversation. And you might find an appreciation for something you didn't even realize that you might have,
Oh, yeah.
Like I see it from like, I see like deathmatch guys get it a lot. And even like the spot wrestlers, like the Japanese spot wrestlers or even the lucha guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'll see that all the time. It's like, oh, that's not wrestling. Yes, it is. It's
just
a different style of wrestling. Deathmatch wrestling, lucha, high fly, Japanese strong style. Like, it's just not your flavor of wrestling. It might not be American standardized Memphis, I don't even say storytelling because in good deathmatch and lucha wrestling, there's still storytelling,
Oh
but
yeah,
it's just an athletic spectacle. You know, it's a work. You know, it's a show. You know,
yeah.
just turn your belief down a little bit. If you like something more realistic, watch that. But that doesn't mean like Ricochet and Will Ospreay aren't wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Is it more acrobatic? Yeah, but it's an amazing physical display. It's
Oh man,
ridiculous.
you got to be athletic as hell to pull off some of the stuff that they do.
Like watching an Avengers movie. It's insane.
Oh yeah, but you brought up before we get into my two categories here. You brought up promos, and I was watching a couple of them, and I'm like, holy crap, this is giving me serious like Wyatt family vibes here. It was just kind of
My stuff, or
yeah,
oh yeah, yeah. So I pull a lot of my inspiration for my stuff the same places he pulled a lot of his. So that doesn't surprise me.
okay. I was gonna say, I was like,
It's going to
you know
get
what? If
more
I
like
hear
that and
that,
worse too as I go on, because like some of the stuff I'm doing now and like what I'm going to have to be doing with different evolutions in the character, like with the movie stuff and all that,
yeah,
it's going to give that same kind of vibe. It's weird because it's just like the timelines mesh, and it's like, well, crap, I have to do this and this and this, but they're doing
yeah,
something similar. That's what we were trying to avoid that with the Void because it had that kind of vibe
mm,
to it. But I'm like, it is what it is, you know. Like that's what they want you to do. That's just the character direction. You just have to make sure it's different enough. Just like I
yeah,
carried an hourglass out with me for the longest time. Well, Karrion Kross, Killer Kross came back to WWE, and what's the first thing they do? There's Scarlet with the hourglass. I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to get that reference now. But
yeah.
I
No,
just
and,
though.
oh, no, I get you there, and it's like nothing wrong with taking inspiration from something, but
Right.
but what you need to do, and it can I can understand it maybe being a little bit harder to do with some things than others, but tweaking it just enough to where like people can get those vibes that it's like, oh, I get this vibe from this, but it's like it's different enough to where it's not like a complete carbon copy of it.
Right. Well, it's funny because like when Wyatt was doing his promos and would do his stuff, um, like I pulled a lot of my promo stuff from Jake Roberts, Muda, Dan Spivey when he was doing Waylon Mercy. So that's where I pulled a lot of mine from. And I'm not even thinking about that. I would watch his stuff because it was so good. But when I would go to do my promo stuff, I'm like, all right, I'm thinking Cape Fear, I'm thinking Waylon Mercy, I'm thinking this, and that, this movie. And then just because he pulled a lot of his inspiration from the same things, I would put the promo up. Some people would be shitty about it, be like, "Oh, it's a Bray Wyatt rip, or it's a this rip," and then other people would be like, "Oh, like this, I dig this. It's similar, but it's different. It's your own
It,
take on it. that's
yeah,
creepy." Blah blah blah. I
that's
like
what I
I,
took.
yeah, I like the troll accounts though. Honestly, when they do mine, I just mess with them. It cracks me up. I got a thick ass skin, so it's
Oh,
like, yeah,
oh yeah. I got one of those myself. I mean, you kind of, coming from being a military veteran, you kind of get that beat into you from boot camp on. But yeah, no, there's been people that have tried to say certain stuff, commenting on different videos and stuff that I'll put out, and I'll just, oh God, what was it? Conrad Thompson. I I got a laugh out of this one time. Somebody told him to quit sucking dick or blah blah blah, and he'll just be like, "Thank you for listening to my show," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna need to take that because that's kind of just me. I'm like, hey, you want to troll me, but you're watching my shit, so
right.
thank you.
That somebody said something about that on. I was doing research for YouTube stuff, for YouTube algorithm and analytics. I'm like, how can I up my stuff? And I was listening to a podcast about that, and the guy said the thing is, he goes, I will put stuff in a video that will get a negative response on purpose. Like I'll spell something wrong, or this, or misspeak something, something intentional.
Yeah,
Because the algorithm doesn't know the difference between negative and positive interaction most of the
as
time.
long as you're getting
It's
that
just
interaction.
interaction. And like case in point, I've got a video that I put up, and I spelled I do these hidden gems videos. Sometimes they're just reels, just shorts, and it's
Yeah.
like Vader and Hanson or Terry Funk and Bruiser Brody, And I spelled gems wrong on one of them. I don't know why. I put JEM like gem,
Mm,
and so many people was like, "Oh, you spelled gem wrong. Oh, a fourth grader could fix this," or blah, spell check. And I'm like, to me, it's funny because and I just mess with them. I was like, oh, I meant this Jim, and I put like from Jim and the Misfits and all that
yeah.
cartoon. We're like, oh, autocorrect got me, or thanks for watching. Here's one where it's spelled right. Just silly shit. And
Yeah.
my goal is to either make them a fan and follow me, which most of them do, or make them block me. Because if you're going to be a total asshole, I don't want you following me anyway. If you're not going to be a
So, yeah.
crack, then I just want you to block me. I won't block you unless you get real vulgar. Then I will, because I got kids on my channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my whole. I told one guy, I was like, "You seem really angry. Like you just need to hug it out or something." I just kept on him, and it went from him trolling me to me trolling him, and he was like, "I can't deal with this." And he ended up following my page and liking my stuff. He was like, "You got me. I don't know what to do now."
That's epic.
And I was like, I've been called names for 25 years, dude. You can't hurt my feelings. I've been called everything you can possibly think of.
Oh yeah. I'm like, anybody tries that with me, I'm like, I have been to parts of the world with the military that if you tried to go there, you'd shit your pants. So I'm I'm fine.
Right.
All right. Well, like I said, I got two categories here. One's a bit of a name game where I name off some people. You give me quick thoughts on each one. And you know what?
Canceled.
With each of these, I try to theme it towards the guest as much as possible. And we kind of talked about how you do your promos, and I'm like, you know what? I already kind of hinted at one person that's going to be in here, and we might as well start off with them. But
Is this like word association? Like you say it and I say one word that I think of, or
like a sentence or two. It doesn't got to be anything long.
okay.
So first one, late great Bray Wyatt.
Artist. That guy was an artist and a half.
Oh yeah.
Like psychology, and so I watched him come up through wrestling, which was interesting. Not like in person, like we've seen each other in passing a couple times, but like coming up from Florida when he was like Rotunda Wyndham with his brother and all that, before all the Bray Wyatt stuff, husky hair.
Yeah.
He did so many things before that people don't even know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he's Bray Wyatt. Nah, before that, he did a bunch of stuff and fell on his ass and tried to figure it out until he came up with the Bray Wyatt thing, which the Bray Wyatt thing, like I said, was a take from Dan Spivey and Waylon Mercy and Cape Fear. And yeah, like his psychology was just ridiculous, and long-term storytelling, which
Oh yeah.
I see so many people comment on things like, man, I wish they would just get to the point, just get to the man. This is dragging out because people don't have an attention span. He would just make them wait. I'm like, but you're still watching. And Bo's doing the same thing.
Oh yeah. Hell,
And I almost want to say, as bad as Bo's almost better at it than him. And Bray said that. He was like, you all don't have no idea. He said that in an interview before he passed, was like, do you think you and your brother will tag and team up and do this? He goes, that's the plan all along. He's like, you all have no idea the mind that this guy has. And Jesus, I'm pressed to say he's almost better at it than Bray was.
I would venture to guess close, if not there, because he's definitely proving it so far. Like, I'm okay when it comes to the long-term storytelling. Yeah, there is that aspect of WWE's had their faults with it, where like there's been those. I get Veer Mahan was the one that immediately jumps to mind, where it's always Veer is coming. And it's almost like, when?
Right.
But now, but
what
with the way
delayed
they're
that
doing
so much, but man.
yeah, but with the way they're doing this stuff with the Wyatt Six, it's like, yeah, they had those, the QR codes and all that stuff, and it was a few weeks until we got the showing up on TV, and then now that all these vignettes they're doing with Bo, the one they did, as of recording this, the one they did Monday. Holy shit, I love that.
I don't know if I've
And
seen that one yet. I got to go back and watch that.
it's a good one. And all the little tweaks and stuff that they've been doing, I'm like, God damn, yeah, they're doing good. And hell, Bray Wyatt, he had probably, in my humble opinion, one of the most just insanely creative minds in wrestling in recent memory. Like, if I would love to think that if the creative team that they have now was there when he was having his runs,
Oh yeah,
holy shit.
I think he got stifled a lot, like with the Vince era of stuff. Yeah, I think he got stifled a lot. I was surprised he got away with some of the stuff that he did do, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think creatively he got some stuff. I think he got fed a bunch of crap that was like, here, make this work, and he did as much as possible. But if they would have just let him run, yeah,
Oh,
way better.
yeah. Now I would like to think that it seems like if, he was getting to do the things the way they're having Bo and the group that are doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Which it seems like they pretty much was like, here you go, this is your baby, do what you want with it. And he's like, all right, here's the production, here's what we're doing, and then.
Oh yeah, I've been loving it. All right, next person. They did a little tribute to Bray at the first, well, not first All In, but the one over in London. Talking about Malachi Black.
Oh, Malik, yeah, Alistair Black. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy End.
Yeah.
Tommy End. He's another one that's really creative. Crazy athletic. But like just he's another one that's got like a presence to him. Like he can work, he can wrestle, legit wrestle and fight, but he's got like a presence to him. Another one of those dark gimmicks, dark characters, which he was like that on the indies too. But I think the whole when he was Alistair Black and NXT and all that, and doing the meditation poses and everything.
Oh, that whole thing where like he was
which
laying on that thing and it just came
which I love that because
I
I do that, and I was like, oh, this is dope, and I do it for a different reason, but like when he would do the backflip off the ropes and then land in the pose and just duck the guys and drop down into it and stare at it's like a head game. And that's one of those things I like in wrestling is when you could take something small and make it real meaningful. And he was really good at that. And that roundhouse kick that he does as a finish, he made that just seem like the most devastating move that there is. Which, I mean, you get roundhouse kicked in the mouth, you're going to get knocked out.
Oh, yeah. He literally makes it look like if you're not careful, that thing will literally take your head off.
Yeah, I compared it a couple of times, like when Diamond Dallas Page first started doing the Diamond Cutter, he would just hit it like out of nowhere and out of different things, and that's what it reminded me of. Or Jake with the DDT, it's just you didn't know when it was coming. It's just back forth, and boom, lights out, matches over. There wasn't a comeback, there wasn't a big back end or whatnot. It was just boom, there's the finish.
Boom, there it is, boom.
Well, that made you watch because now it's like, well, this match can end at any time.
Yeah.
Beat guys in 30 seconds with it. He's had guys go 10 minutes, back forth into a big spot, and then he finally hits it. Him getting the crap beat out of him, and then boom, lights out. So it's like you have to watch because now you don't know when the finish is coming.
True. All right. You know what? Since we've, talked about him a few times, hell, we're going to talk about him a little more now because he's been touted as like a master of intimidating promo. Jake the Snake Roberts.
I think Jake the Snake Roberts is hands down the best, not wrestler, but best worker probably ever. As far as psychology, storytelling, getting the most out of a little bit. Because like that's kind of my definition of like a worker, not a wrestler. He wasn't a great wrestler by any means, but a worker can like pull you in. They can take like a handful of things and make them so much and captivate you with like a story with words.
Oh yeah.
And then that way when it comes to the match time, He said, he goes, doing a body slam or a hip toss or a bump doesn't mean anything. But if you do a bump or a body slam or that move at the right time and make the people go nuts, that's when it means something.
Oh
And
yeah.
I got to be on a couple shows with him and work with him once in like a multi-team tag. Cool. It was weird because I got coked up Jake one time and I got super clean sober Jake the rest of the other times and he was fine. Crazy world of difference. Uh, but
I've heard, and
when he's on though, even when he was like kind of messed up, like when he went out and worked a match, he was on. It was crazy, and
oh yeah.
it stands the test of time. You can go watch his promos and his matches now. Still get over.
Oh, totally. And hell, I'm loving it now because you know you see what he went through, and then for him to be coming back and doing what he's doing, and having one hell of a redemption story, really.
Yeah, Paige helped him out a lot.
Oh yeah.
Take him in the way he was, then to watch. And I'm sure we didn't even see a third of what all happened, but
Oh
him
yeah.
relapsing a bit and this and that, like that's a lifetime of like crazy shit to deal with.
Oh God.
And when you watch his documentary stuff and you
Yeah.
start piecing all that, it's like, man, this guy, no wonder he's so screwed up. Like you look at
Yeah.
Grizzly Smith now, like, man, you were a prick, dude. Like,
God,
holy
that
cow, you were a
that
horrible person.
that Dark Side of the Ring episode on Grizzly Smith, holy shit. I mean, they've had some episodes that were a little hard to watch.
That was
That
brutal.
Oh God. Yeah. And you see, much like you see little videos of Jake with the stuff with DDP, but you also saw it with Scott Hall, like when the shape they were in before they got there and barely being able to even do a squat.
Yeah.
And like, man, DDP is a damn saint for everything that he's been doing for everybody. The guy's a damn saint.
He's found his calling with all that.
Oh yeah, totally. All right, last but not least here, I think when talking about intimidating promos and the masters of like the spooky shit, it would almost be a sin if I didn't bring this guy up. The Undertaker.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was one other one that was like really great at getting the most out of a little bit. I mean, hell, he said 3 words for years. Didn't say anything for a couple years before that. And when he did speak, I was like, wow. And he was one of the last of I guess you say last of a kind of a dying breed, that last run of guys that even when things were kind of exposed and opened up, like here's behind the curtain, he would still keep with that demeanor and character up until he pretty much retired. And then he was like, well, I'm retired now. I'm going to do my podcast. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
The one-man shows and stuff.
Yeah, and all that, and just he's another one though. If you look at him, he just made. When I say I make small tweaks to my gimmick and stuff and that and character over time to keep it fresh.
He is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, he never changed who he was. Like Zodiac is still Zodiac or Zodiac, whatever. But there's little tweaks and stuff. Some more extreme than others. Like he had the regular funeral parlor Undertaker, and he came back and did some of the other stuff, and then it was like the ministry
of darkness.
Yeah, and then he did the biker deal and this and that and everything else. And then it all circled back around eventually to like where he started pretty much.
Yeah.
So if you want a prime example of longevity,
yeah. Oh yeah. You can't beat that. He's like I brought up earlier, making those small tweaks, whenever you need to. He was the master of that and getting that longevity out of that, because holy shit, he has earned everything that he ever got, and getting to do whatever the hell he wants to do in the business now. I don't think there's anywhere that man couldn't go, and then people just the immediate respect that he'd get anywhere.
Oh yeah, and any show, any show anywhere, like if even to this day, if you hear that gong go off and that, that's a
Oh,
prime example of repetition too and consistency. You were talking about before. Even when his music changed a bit, like he had the different music in the ministry and all that,
yeah.
like that gong and everything is synonymous. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
the eye roll deal, the rest in peace, whatever. Everything is so consistent. And I think that's something that a lot of guys lack nowadays too, is they get so bored and they constantly think they have to change everything. Like, try something, right? And like, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
try this for a few weeks. Don't try it for a few weeks. Try it for 6 months. Because especially on indie shows, because you're going to have a vast
Yeah.
array of audiences to test it with. Whether it's a catchphrase, it's a finisher, it's this and that. Do it
Yeah.
consistently and put it out there on your social media for 3 to 6 months at least, and see how it gets over.
Oh, totally.
Because you do it for
Totally.
a couple of weeks, and it's like you can't gauge nothing off of that. It takes
Oh,
time to
yeah.
get stuff in people's heads.
Especially on the independent circuits, because, especially if it doesn't catch on one show, I mean, one day, well, hell, you got, a month or so until the next one. You got to have that repetition in there for
Well,
it to really. And then, what if you find it that, oh, it didn't catch on? Okay, you change it up.
and more stuff gets recorded nowadays, and then of course, and you can even record stuff yourself and put it out. But not everything gets recorded. You might do a slew of shows for a month, and maybe only 4 of them get recorded out of 10 that you did.
Yeah.
So you got to take that catchphrase, whatever you're doing, and just the repetition of it.
Yeah.
That way people know it's like, oh, you're the yeah guy, you're the the Joe Hendry, you're the wave guy, you're this, you're that. Give them something that they can remember. Um, when I do seminars every now and then on character development, and I call them like the 3 keys. I tell everybody, like, get yourself 3 keys that you can market. Make one of them a finisher, hopefully a catchphrase, and some kind of visual thing. I was like,
Yeah.
if you do that, something you can end a promo with, something that's easily marketable, you can put in anything. Because you think of the most marketable stuff, it was, well, right now it's LA Knight's whole yeah thing. Yeah, Steve Austin, that's what Daniel Bryan's yes. It's simple. Bret Hart, even his was whole, the best there is, best for what. But it was so ingrained. Joe Hendry right now doing his whole deal. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Oh, God,
His name and
that, I
he
love that.
appears. Like he's the most over dude right now.
Oh, God, yeah.
Insane.
My my friend and I that do the My 2 Cents stuff, we've wanted to, kind of like uh what was it, Tommaso Ciampa and Gargano used to do uh the things with Bobby Roode and the glorious bombs.
The glorious bombs.
We've
I
wanted to.
love those.
Oh, I loved them. We wanted to do our little spin on it, and with theming it towards Joe Hendry and being like, maybe starting it off where, like, oh, the first couple we'd go to a show and ask somebody if they believe, and then they, like, say his name, but then, oh, he doesn't show up, and like, you don't believe, do you?
Well, they're even he gave them something they can market, because like they're even playing that up on the commentary and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You say his name and he appears. Like, who? What are you talking about? Joe Hendry. And then boom, there's his music. Say it works.
Yeah.
And there's other things like, don't say it. Don't, so there's a lot.
Like Beetlejuice.
Yeah. He's like freaking Beetlejuice. You say his name 3 times and there he is. But he's smart though. Like, he was a musician before this or during all this. And evidently, like, the song that he has was a flop song that he had from before. And he was like, these are all the places that we were wanting to go. I listened to the story behind how he came up with the song. I'm like, this is brilliant. I was like, he didn't think it would go off like that, but he was like, these are all places we wanted to go and play music and never got to, or this or that. So it was actually a rib on himself, and it turned into this inspirational, we're in London, we're in Paris, Tokyo, blah blah blah. Joe Hendry's everywhere.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
It don't help that he's built like a freaking horse and he's like a good looking dude too. So it's like,
Oh yeah. No,
that
that definitely helps. But all right. I got some random questions here. Some might be wrestling related. Some might not be. Some might have nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. So give you the question first, answer that pops into your head. First one, the one I like to lead off with, one of the only ones I generally keep in because I love the stories I get out of it. Craziest in-match moment for you?
That's a tough one.
It can be. It can be.
That's a tough one. I mean, I've had guys throw up in the ring. I've made guys throw up in the ring. I've snatched a few guys up in the ring because they weren't listening. Shoot, I don't know. Craziest.
I've heard
I've had fans hit the ring on stuff, and that's always wild.
I've had stories of people getting stabbed in the butt. I've had stories of people getting dropped on their heads and they don't remember how they got out of the ring, but somehow they did. And
luckily, I've never had anything like that or really super serious injury happen. Most serious injury I've had was like where I blew my knee out and I messed my shoulder up. But I've never broken anything, luckily. I think craziest though. I don't know craziest was. Been some fun times in that.
I've my one that I was just remembering talking about the different fan stuff happening. You have those crowds that'll sometimes take stuff a little too seriously.
Oh yeah.
Well, I got told, this one story where I am trying to remember. I think it might have been JD Griffey or somebody, but they're friends with Keith Lee, and they were on an independent show somewhere with him, and they were like in a feud, and they actually got his mom involved.
Oh, wow.
And like all of a sudden, like a DDT or a kick to the mom, and then oh shit, and then chase him out of the ring, but then all of a sudden they're getting out of the building and around the corner. They think, they take a breath, but then trying to play it up. Keith Lee's still chasing them, but then all of a sudden you see the entire crowd running behind him.
I didn't have this is one of it's one that I do get a kick out of, and it's funny now in retrospect. Like it was still funny then, but the whole backstory. I did an angle with a guy named Marcus Mathers, not the one that's like wrestling now, is different.
Oh yeah,
but he was a younger kid. But his parents would come to the show and everything, and they kind of smart, kind of not to everything. Well, he had heart issues. Like for some reason, he had a heart defect, like a bad palpitation, something. I can't remember.
Okay.
They had to do surgery on him, everything. And we were in an angle originally. We were going to start doing some stuff. So he had to take like 6 months or so off, if not longer than that, to get this heart stuff done and everything else. And it was all like he came back, yada, 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 and was going to do his whole deal. Parents was there for his first match. Great. Well, of course, his first match is with me. He's like, I want to pick this back up because we didn't get to finish it. I'm like, great. Well, my finish is a heart punch.
Oh, boy.
So you see where this is going.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you want to do? And he's like, Ox Baker, Ernie Ladd. I'm like, oh, you dick. I'm like, is this your mom and all them here? He's like, yeah. And at the time, I carried a body bag out with me. Big, green, military grade disposal bag.
Yeah.
Blood stained, everything. So we have the match, and like, I'm getting heat, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And they're already worried about it because he did this big promo, like coming back from heart surgery. They didn't know if he was going to make it or not, blah, blah, blah. And he's only in his 20s. He's not old.
Yeah.
So, of course, finish of the match, I screw him over, boom, I hit him with a heart punch. Oh. Well, instead of pinning him, I pick him back up. And we do the whole Ox Baker, Ernie Ladd gimmick. Boom, hit me. And I'm drilling him, though. You can hear me hitting because he's like, hit me harder. He's like, just lay it in. I'm like, all right. His mom and them, she wouldn't talk to me for months. like I gotta she like you're an asshole. You know what he went through, what we like how could you even go along and do something like that? I just sent back, it was your son's idea. Boom. That was all I sent her back. And she wouldn't go to the shows or nothing for like a couple of weeks. And finally she started coming back and she'd watch the videos. And just for like 3 or 4 weeks, same thing. I was just burying this kid. And the one show they came back to, we did it again, and I put him in the body bag.
Oh,
And I look over at his mom and I was like, this is where he should have wound up to begin with. And I
oh,
left him there. Oh man. I had people out back waiting on me on that one.
oh man,
like,
I can only imagine.
yeah, and he's like flailing and like this and that. You know, his daughter's there, so it's like,
Oh,
yeah, he's like, God, just run with it. That was one of the ones, and it was in Kentucky, so of course, like down there, they get into it.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to get out of this building. I'm like, they're not gonna let me out of here. Like, I'm gonna have to change, go incognito, out the mask, blah blah, get to my car and go because they're not gonna let me out of this building. And yeah, there's people around back waiting like that motherfucker.
Oh God, I've heard. Well, and these next two crazy ones actually came from the same guy. He had one show where, you know, people are like, kind of like what you with the person with the heart issue. They're like meaning at his car, and he goes and drives off, and all of a sudden, bam! Somebody like threw a brick through the back windshield.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I've had
And
thrown in my car in Kentucky and everything else. My saving grace though is like I wear a mask most of the time, so it's like, ah, they don't know who I am. You know,
yeah,
I've had conversations with fans after. It's like, oh, that son of a bitch. But I'm like, I'm
oh,
telling you what, you're just going along with it. I'm standing right there talking. They have no clue. The boy's cracking up. You know.
and you'll get a kick out of this one. Is it was with the same guy. He was at a show in Puerto Rico, and he literally had a shirt on. I believe I'd have to go back and rewatch the episode. It hasn't even been released yet, but he wore a shirt in Puerto Rico that I believe said this in English and in Spanish, but it said "Justice for Brody."
Oh God.
He's literally been told that by the promoter that somebody contacted him saying that if you bring him back, he's not making it home.
I believe it. But yeah, I've heard crazy stories about Puerto Rico from like Flash
Oh,
and all them guys, and
oh yeah.
they said it's
I,
great to go work, but you got to mind your P's and Q's and stuff. Like,
oh yeah.
oh, that's where Abyss started his Abyss gimmick. Really was down there in Puerto
I
Rico,
heard.
and
Yeah.
he's like, it's crazy. He was like, they didn't bother him too much because he's big, 6'8", 300 some odd pounds. They ain't gonna mess with him too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said it was wild down there.
Yeah, I've definitely heard some stories, and I mean, Bruiser Brody was always my favorite, so I kind of one of my favorites, so I kind of got a kick out when the guy told me that story. All right, so person, you know, you've mentioned, you know, some of the work with Mid Death Pro, but is there a match type that you would avoid if you had the choice?
I don't care for doing glass. Yeah, that's my only thing I don't like because like I've done and will do like barbed wire, which is weird because some people will pick glass over barbed wire, but like barbed wire, tacks, all that crazy stuff. If it's pointy, I don't mind it really, but I try to stay away from glass. It's just too unpredictable and unforgiving. And with the other work that I do, I can't get it in my hands or this or that. You know, I don't have anything against it at all. You know, like I see a lot of the guys do it, like Josh Crane when he was doing a lot of deathmatch stuff. Drake, he does a lot of stuff with it. Orin Vite, love all them guys. Tommy Vendetta, you know, all the guys that do that stuff.
Oh hell, we've got some mutual friends from, you know, Matt Tremont's promotion up in New Jersey, H2O.
H2O, yeah, Tremont, love Tremont to death.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't do a lot of deathmatch wrestling, and I tell people this because like if I start doing it, I'm going to do more and more of it because I enjoy it. But physically, I can't because like with the other work that I do, plus the kids and this and that and everything else, it's just not responsible on my end to take that kind of risk.
No.
More power to that. I will do one here and there. Like I went and did AWR show not long ago, and I did their like I don't think they called it like a fuckery battle royal. It was a death battle royal, and I came home with like a big gusset plate mark on me, and there's a couple little things, nothing major. Played it up.
Yeah.
Of course, the wife, she's like, you can do them here and there. She goes, but I know you, and you don't half-ass nothing. She's like, don't do them too much. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Hell, I've lost count of how many people from H2O I have on. I've probably had just about everybody but Tremont himself, although I am actively trying for that one. I actually, as of this recording, my only other one for this week is actually with the President Edward Hawkins and the head of the heads of state.
Cat just scared the hell out of me.
So, yeah, I've had one of my wife and I's cats does that to me all the time. Like,
got like 7 cats. It's ridiculous.
Oh, my wife and I, we got 3 and a dog.
Yeah, and we have a dog. Yeah, we have a 130-pound mountain dog.
Boy,
she's pretty, but she's dumb as a bag of hammers.
We got an English bulldog. I love them.
You have a giant fur ball that sits there and looks at you.
Oh, I love it because literally you feed him, give him water, let him outside to go do his business, and then he's happy as hell napping on the couch the whole damn day. I love it.
This one's still got puppy in her because she's only 2 years old, so she thinks she's a 20-pound lap dog and gets everything. She walks by and she'll just knock you over. She's ridiculous. I'm 280, 290 pounds. She'll walk by and clip me in the back of the legs, not even thinking about it, and almost knock me on the floor.
My wife and I, we've had 2 different Great Danes, and yeah, pretty much the same. Pretty much the damn same. Like, I would have to constantly watch after them whenever they go into the kitchen because they get their front paws up and start drinking out of the sink.
Yep. My friend had a Mastiff that was like that. I worked with him at Toyota, and this guy he was 6'4" at least, big 300-pound guy. And he's like, no, you don't understand how big this dog is. I'm like, well, how big is it? And he showed me a picture. This dog could jump up and put his paws on his shoulders and look him in the face. I'm like, holy cow. He's like, yeah, he's about 200 pounds.
Oh, yep. Yep.
Same thing. He's like huge lap dog. He goes, he just would want to curl up with you on the couch.
Oh, yeah. Actually, one of the Great Danes, she has since passed, but it popped up on my Facebook memories where it was literally a video of her just like up on my lap, just like nose in my face, like trying to lick me. But then my wife posted in a comment a picture with a caption, "It's only your fault." And it's like literally me laying on my side and then her right on top of me with her head on my head.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. So next up, there's a lot of traveling in the wrestling business, whether national TV or the independent circuit. One thing that I know I've had on road trips that I've heard a lot about other wrestlers having different playlists. What is a song or two you might have on a road trip playlist?
I like the way Eddie Kingston put it, whiskey drinking music. Like song wise, I like who's the guy? Man, I don't know why he's slipping my brain right now. Shoot, I can picture him, but I can't think of the name off the top of my head. That was a lot of 80s stuff, like 80s rock, like Journey and all that stuff.
No.
But, who's the guy? He does a ton of different covers.
Trying to think.
Crap. I don't know why I'm going.
Because I know when you brought up whiskey drinking music, I'm a big country music guy. And actually, the show that I'm making my commentary debut at, I've had to give the friend of mine, the promoter, a couple of songs that to choose for I'm actually getting my own entrance, and two of them actually come. Actually, all three that I would use all come from the same guy, Luke Combs.
Oh yeah, Luke Combs is good.
My wife and I have seen him in concert about 10, 11 times, and one of the songs that I pick has been a favorite song of mine of his since he was only doing that song at shows. It wasn't on an album anywhere, but his song "Beer Never Broke My Heart."
Chris Cornell. That's what I was trying to think of. His covers are like he does a cover of Nothing Compares to You and like a bunch of different covers that he did, and like his covers are just really good. So that's I get into those and listening to those, and then like old Nine Inch Nails, old stuff like that. Depends on what kind of mood I'm in, and then I'll get in a weird random mood where if it's a playlist and it's a long road trip, just old entrance music that I like.
Oh hell, I'm guilty of that myself.
I had this playlist and it was called my like short trip to shows kind of playlist. And when I would get about 30 minutes to 45 minutes from a show, it would be like Kevin Owens theme, Brock Lesnar's theme, Aleister Black's theme, like all the hyped up Shinsuke Nakamura's violin theme. Just for something to listen to get hyped for wrestling. And
oh yeah, hell, I still have it on my phone, but the music that Tama Tonga and Tongaloa would use in New Japan.
Oh yeah,
I have that on my phone.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love
entrance themes. Some of the good. There's some good entrance themes and stuff though. Tommaso Ciampa's "No One Moves the Five" theme.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Hype.
I actually have the Tommaso Ciampa shirt where it's a black one and like his face kind of comes through, but it's like a whole bunch of lines that say "No one will survive." And I have been guilty of it with my bald head, where I've been wearing that shirt without a hat on. And I used to work with kids with behavior issues. I've literally been asked by the kids if that was me on the shirt.
That's funny.
I got a laugh out of it. I was like, no, I'm a fan of the guy, but no.
That's hilarious.
But, oh yeah, I get a kick out of that. I'm like, if I had the money that guy is making in WWE right now.
All facts there.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. All right. With the name of a show like I have, I feel like I have to have this question in here. Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic or non, or one of each.
Well, alcohol. Hold on. Got you covered there. Ugh. I'm a tequila guy.
Ah, yes. Not so much of the Cuervo, but the Rock's Terramana. Love it. And there's one that George Clooney at least used to own, Casamigos.
Yeah, Casamigos is good. I like Patron Silver, and then Tequila Rose actually is like I like it. It's got a smooth thing to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, drink wise that. And then I like if it's something not that hard, the Red's Apple Ales. I like those.
Oh, those are good.
I like those.
Those are delicious.
Non-alcohol. This has been one of my favorite things as far as non-alcoholic lately. These bonsai waters.
I've heard of those.
These are good. Because I'm trying to get away from energy drinks. Because like I'm 44. My blood pressure's a little high. I got to cut back on the caffeine, which is weird. I notice when I cut the caffeine out or way back, I have more energy than when I drink it. And I think like that goes back to evidently I have ADHD and didn't realize it. And when somebody with really high ADHD drinks caffeine, it does the opposite. It makes them sleepy and tired and mellows them out. I was on the way back from a show with Lord Crew, and we had like ghosts in the car, the cherry blade lemonade ones and C4s. I popped one open. I can't remember what it was. We're on our way back, like maybe an hour from home. He goes, "Are you going to drink that now?" I'm like, "Bro, I can drink this now and go to sleep in this car." He's like, "I would be up all night. There's no way." I drink it. I'm just stick back. And come to find out, like if somebody actually has ADHD, from what I've read, caffeine like that, especially in high doses, it more puts you to sleep. Helps me focus. but it does.
Hey, yeah,
Yeah,
I know for me, with when it comes to energy drinks, I have I drank so many of them on deployment that anymore, unless I am like about to fall asleep tired and I need to stay awake, that's the only time I actually feel it.
yeah.
Any other time it's like I'm just drinking my favorite non-alcoholic drink, Dr. Pepper. Like I'm like, like normal.
My other one is cherry Coke or McDonald's Coke. McDonald's Coke.
No, there's like, yeah, there is that weird difference with Coke elsewhere and then coming out of
They
the
have the
thing.
they have the actual steel drums, like steel tins that it comes out of. So from what I understand, that's what I've been told. They have like an exclusive thing that they only get their Coke in the steel things, is what
Oh,
my
okay.
if it's
I
still.
mean, it would make sense, I guess, because I've actually been uh I worked at a national park in southern Utah for one season, and one of the things that I would have to do is when like the 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 soda thing in the employee dining room, when one of them was making that noise when it ran out,
Yeah.
I'd have to go fill it. So like I've seen, most of them are just in a box with a plastic bag and shit. So I mean, I can see that. I can see that making a difference. All right. Last but not least here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Don't. No, I'm just kidding.
I've actually had somebody say that.
Proceed with caution. Wrestling is a great. Wrestling is the greatest business that you will hate. It really is. It's like that toxic girlfriend that you don't want to get rid of and keep going back to a lot of times, because there's so many good times to it, but then there's just those. It will beat you to death if you're not careful.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but
Yep.
there's
I
just, if you're going to get into it though, prepare yourself mentally and emotionally and physically. Find a good, reputable place to go train. There's a number of good places to go. Um, I'm one to where like I go full in on stuff. So like if like when I was like I'm going to be a wrestler, I'm going to be. That's just all I did. But I was able to do that at the time because of my expenses and this and that. I always had some kind of job, but don't have something else besides this.
yeah.
Um, and the reason I say that is you can get burned out in this really fast. It's a very hard, very fast business. You might burn bright really hard for a minute and then drop off. And if you don't have something when you drop off, depression is a bitch.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, so like always have, you notice the guys that have the most longevity are the guys that have something outside of this they do too. Like look at Jericho. He
Mm-hmm.
wrestled and that, then he would go do his band stuff for a while and then come
Mm-hmm.
back and wrestling. Orton would go do his movies or this or that and then come back and do the wrestling. Taker had stuff outside of this. JBL had his investment stuff and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look, the guys where it's all consuming nothing but wrestling, they have so many issues and go through so much hardship. So like get you a degree, or a trade or a side business. Like I do the gear. Like I
Yeah.
got so many things because of that, just because I wanted to keep myself occupied and try to avoid burnout in wrestling.
Yeah.
Like I've got my massage license, I've got my gear stuff, I've got a tech certificate, because I would just want to find little things and then take those if you can and incorporate them back into what you're wrestling with.
Exactly. That is pretty good advice there, because having that backup in place for those times. But then yeah, I mean, hell, I've even experienced it in the little bits that I've been even doing the podcast, or hell, even doing stuff for different different shows, that it's like, yeah, I have just recently started limiting my recording schedules to where, like, before I had weeks where like I had to drive and hour to work, and I work day shifts. So I'd be like waking up at 5:45 in the morning. Then I'd drive back and have enough time to, and then it'd just be back at it the next day, Monday through Friday. So now I'm like literally no more than 3 in a week. That's all I'm doing.
I got lucky because I had guys like Tracy Smothers and even Roger and a number of the older guys, the vet guys. It was like, what would you do if you couldn't wrestle tomorrow? Like if all of a sudden something happened, you're like, you can no longer wrestle in ring, this and that.
Yeah.
Even just being a part of it might be detrimental. Like you have to do something else.
Yeah.
And if your answer is I have no clue, you got to fix that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
definitely.
Even if it's like a podcast or like sewing stuff or whatever, coaching, it could be anything. Massage,
Yeah.
a trade, and I'm an electrician, I can do that, or I can do I build drones and go film shit for people. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. No, it could be
Anything.
just about anything.
There's a world of stuff. But if your answer to that question is I don't know what I would do, because you're going to get hit with that question eventually. You're going to get hurt or sick, or a family's thing's going to come up, and there's going to be a point where you're not going to be able to do this, even if it's brief. And if you're sitting there like, what the fuck am I going to do with myself? That's a hard reality check. So like I try to tell young guys, what do you like to do? What do you want to do outside of this? Because this is a great business, but only 1% of people really make it anywhere.
Oh yeah.
A good 30% can make it on the indies if you're good. And if you can market yourself, you can make damn good money on the independents.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to go anywhere big and still do well. But in those low times, what else do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Or that you need a break from? It could be a
big.
Yeah. One of mine was gig work for the longest time. I love doing like Uber Eats and driving and stuff like that. So I would take hiatuses here and there if I just wasn't feeling it and wouldn't book out my schedule for a couple weeks. And then I would just go drive and go make money that way and just get back into like the real world for a minute. I'm not a 9-to-5 job guy. I can't do it. I haven't had a 9-to-5 job in 10 years. Everything I've done has been wrestling related. I got let go. Well, not let go, but I worked at a spa doing massage work and stuff. And great place, like nothing against them, but just we had to part ways. And I looked at that and I was like, I'm never working for somebody else again. Like, I just can't. And it wasn't even on bad terms leaving. It was just like, I can't do this shit. It's just not for me. I was like, I will starve first and make sure my kid's good and figure this out. And that's when I started doing more independent massage work. More like I'll figure out the gear stuff. I need to make it for myself. I'll figure out how to do merch wrestling. I'll figure out how to do the online stuff, whatever I got to figure out. Mm-hmm. But have that, because if you put everything in one basket, you're going to screw yourself bad.
Oh yeah. And hell, that's kind of been my thing with the podcast, even, figuring out that balance and, different stuff outside of it, because especially after the Navy, I laugh whenever I say this, but I've always been the type that's like, I forget where I first heard this, but it's like, never half-ass anything. Always use your full ass. Yeah. I'm like, that's pretty much me.
Right. Well, that and another thing that I try to drill into people, not just wrestling wise, but just in general, is like, look at the people that they're where you want to be, and they're like how, not just success wise, mm-hmm. but like moral standing, lifestyle, whatever, and get around those kind of people. Even if you're just hanging out with them, be like, if it's like, an NWA crew, like an EC3 or a Ricky Morton or whoever, just stuff like that. And be like, hey, I want to be where you're at. Can I run with you? I'll cover my own way, whatever. What can I do? Get around like-minded people that you want to be like, and that you want their lifestyle, and stay away from the other ones. Mm-hmm. Because you end up being who you associate yourself with.
Totally.
Like 100%. And it follows with a reputation too,
Oh yeah. No, definitely. All right. Well, that is about all I have. I just saw a text from my wife asking me about dinner, so I guess I better go. But before I go do all of that, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
Well, one easy place is zodimask.com that's with an XODIMASK.com. That actually goes right now to my Linktree page, which has all of my stuff on it. And then I'm on every social media page you can think of under either Zodiac or Zodiac the Mystic is under some of it still. Instagram is still under like this weird underscore Zodiac spelled like with a Z underscore thing. They won't let me change it. I don't know why. It's annoying. I might have a Facebook change, which is going to be really weird because they want me to verify my account and all that because it's monetized and I have like a good following on it. So I'm like, oh well, the old shooty shoot name might wind up on that thing, which is going to be interesting. But with the movies and everything, it's like it's going to be out there anyway.
Yeah.
With Google, it takes you 2 seconds to find stuff out. But yeah, anything if you look up Zodiac or Zodiac the Mystic, spell it with an X. I'll come up on YouTube, Twitter, all that jazz.
All right. Yeah, we'll get all of that in the description. Well, like I said, that is about all I got. I wish you luck out there with everything, gear making, because I know how important that is for everybody and everywhere in between. And thank you so much. I'm glad we finally got this done.
Yeah, me too, man. I know we've been delayed a few times and stuff and that, but yeah, this was fun. I figured it'd be worth the wait. Figured we'd have a good time. We'll definitely do it again.
Totally. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, definitely love to do them again. Maybe we can do it from the bus. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be.
See if I can get a trip on the bus and that and whatnot, and do it from the bus.
Yeah, that would be.
We're talking about.
I can hear.
So we're talking about gutting it and redoing it. I'm about to hop off of here myself though and go wrangle these children.
Yeah, I can hear my dog rumbling around, so he's probably ready for dinner himself.
Yeah, I got a 1-year-old. I got to put her down for bed.
All right. Well, have a good one, man.